Dr. Elena Martinez rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the computer screen again. The numbers were still there, blinking in green light against the dark background. She'd been working at the Arecibo to Deep Space Monitoring Station for 12 years, but she had never seen anything like this. The pattern kept repeating every 6 hours and 23 minutes. It was not random noise from space. It was too organized, too perfect. Someone or something was sending it on purpose. "Jake, come here," she called to her partner. Dr. Jake Thompson was fixing one of the big radio dishes outside. He was a good man, smart and careful with his work. If anyone could help her figure this out, it was Jake. Jake walked into the control room, wiping oil from his hands with a dirty cloth. His beard was getting gray now after 15 years of listening to space. He looked at Elena's screen, and his face went pale. "How long has this been going on?" he asked. 3 days. Same pattern, same timing, same direction. It's coming from Proxima Centauri. Jake sat down in the chair next to her. Proxima Centauri was the closest star to Earth, but it was still over 4 light years away. Someone was sending signals from there. They had to be very advanced. "You told anyone yet?" Jake asked. "I wanted to be sure first. But look at this." Elena pressed a button, and the computer showed them a new screen. "I ran it through the math programs. It's prime numbers, Jake. First 10 prime numbers, then the next 10, then mathematical formulas. This is definitely made by someone smart." Jake stared at the screen for a long time. Finally, he picked up the red phone that connected directly to the United Earth Space Command. "We need to call this in." 2 hours later, a black car arrived at their station. Commander Lisa Hayes stepped out, followed by 2 other officers. Elena had seen Commander Hayes on the news before. She was the person in charge of all space communications for Earth. "Show me what you found," Commander Hayes said without wasting time on small talk. Elena brought up the signal on the main screen. Commander Hayes studied it carefully, asking questions about the timing, the direction, and the strength of the signal. After an hour, she made a decision. "I'm taking this data to the Global Communications Center. You two will come with me. Pack your things. You might be gone for a while." The Global Communications Center was hidden under a mountain in Colorado. Elena had heard about it, but never thought she would see it. The place was huge, with hundreds of computers and screens covering every wall. Scientists from all over the world worked here, trying to understand signals from space. Dr. Alex Rivera met them at the entrance. He was the best expert on alien life that Earth had. His job was to figure out if life existed on other planets. Now he might have his answer. "We've been working on your signal since Commander Hayes sent it to us," Dr. Rivera said. "Come, let me show you what we found." They walked through long hallways full of busy people. Everyone looked excited and worried at the same time. Elena could feel that something big was happening. In the main computer room, Dr. Rivera showed them a wall covered with pictures and numbers. "Your signal contains much more than math," he said. "There are star maps, pictures, and something that looks like a language." Elena looked at the pictures on the wall. Some showed stars and planets. Others showed strange shapes that might be buildings or machines. But the ones that scared her were the pictures of planets that looked dark and empty. "We think this is a distress call," Dr. Rivera continued. "Someone is asking for help. They call themselves the Zephrians." Jake pointed at one of the pictures. "What's that dark area spreading across the star map?" Dr. Rivera's face became serious. "I think it's what they're running from. They call it the Devourer. According to their data, it moves from star system to star system, destroying everything it finds." Commander Hayes studied the star maps carefully. "How long do we have, based on their speed and direction?" "About 5 years before it reaches Earth." The room became very quiet. Lena felt her heart beating fast. Earth had always seemed so safe, so far from any danger. They learned that something was coming to destroy them. "There's more," Dr. Rivera said. "Zephrians are not just sending a warning. They're asking for permission to come here. Their home star system is already being destroyed. They have one big ship with about 50,000 survivors." Elena looked at the pictures again. The Zephrians looked like living crystals, tall and beautiful, but very different from humans. They had been traveling through space for thousands of years, much longer than humans had even known space existed. "What do they want from us?" Commander Hayes asked. "Sanctuary, a place to live. But they also want to help us fight the Devourer. They've been running from it for a long time. They know how it works. Jake shook his head. 50,000 aliens wanting to come to Earth. People are going to panic. Maybe Commander Hayes said, but if this Devourer thing is real, we need all the help we can get. Dr. Rivera pulled up another screen. Zephrians have technology we can barely understand. Their ship is made of living crystal that can repair itself. They can travel between stars. They know about weapons and shields we haven't even dreamed of. Alina thought about her small radio station where she had been listening to space for 12 years. She had always hoped to find proof that humans were not alone in the universe. Now she had found it, but it came with terrible news. What happens next? She asked. Commander Hayes looked at all the data on the walls. Next, I have to tell the President and the United Nations. Then we have to decide if Earth is ready to meet aliens and fight a war at the same time. The next morning, Captain Ryan Burke sat in his office at the Space Command headquarters. He had just finished reading the report about the alien signal. As Earth's best pilot for long trips in space, he knew he would probably be chosen to make contact with these Zephrians. His phone rang. It was Commander Hayes. Captain Burke, I need you to prepare for a mission. We're going to meet our new neighbors. Ryan looked out his window at the blue sky. Somewhere out there, aliens were traveling toward Earth, asking for help, and offering to fight alongside humans against something that destroyed entire star systems. When do we leave? He asked. As soon as we can build a ship good enough to reach them safely. The engineers say 3 months. Ryan thought about his wife and 2 children. The Zephrians were right about the Devourer, his family, and everyone else on Earth were in terrible danger. But if the aliens were also right about being able to help, then maybe there was hope. I'll be ready, he said. That night, Alina stood outside the communications center and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, crystal beings were flying through the darkness, carrying the last survivors of their people. They had sent a signal across the vast emptiness of space, asking for help, and humans were going to answer that call. She thought about all the times she'd wondered if Earth was alone in the universe. Now, she knew they were not alone, but she also knew they were all in danger together. Signal had changed everything. Tomorrow, the President would tell the world about the aliens. There would be fear and excitement and arguments about what to do, but Alina knew that humans would do what they always did. When faced with something new and dangerous, they would find a way to survive, and they would help others survive too. The signal kept coming from Proxima Centauri, carrying its message of hope and warning across the cold darkness between the stars. And on Earth, people were getting ready to answer. Captain Ryan Burke felt his hands shake as he watched the alien ship fill the view screen. 3 months of flying through space had brought the Endeavor to this moment. The Zephrian vessel was bigger than anything humans had ever built. Like a giant crystal mountain floating in the darkness, with lights dancing across its surface like northern lights on Earth. How big is that thing? Asked Lieutenant Commander Kelly Roberts from her position at the weapons station.
Oh.
Ship's tactical officer, trained to spot danger and fight when needed. Computer says it's 12 miles long and 4 miles wide, replied Dr. Susan Clark, the language expert who had spent months trying to learn how to talk to aliens. The energy readings are off our charts. Ryan had chosen his crew carefully. 12 of Earth's best people for the most important mission in human history. Each person had a job that could mean the difference between peace and war. Dr. Chris Morgan sat at the science station, watching numbers stream across his screen. He was the ship's physicist. He was trying to understand how the alien vessel could be so big, yet move so smoothly through space. Captain, their technology is incredible. The ship should be too heavy to move, but it's generating some kind of field that makes it almost weightless. Engineer Patricia Lopez was studying the construction of the alien ship through their telescopes. Look at how it's built, she said with wonder in her voice. It's not welded or bolted together. The whole thing grew like a living creature. Chief. Diplomat Nathan Ford checked his notes one more time. He had studied every piece of information Earth had about the Zephrians. His job was to make sure the first meeting went well. One wrong word could start a war or lose Earth's only chance for help against the Devourer. Captain, "We're getting a signal from them," Dr. Clark announced. She had been listening for any attempt at communication. It's coming in on multiple frequencies at once. Very complex. Ryan nodded. "Put it through the translation system." Speakers filled with a sound like wind chimes mixed with whale songs. It was beautiful, but completely alien. Dr. Clark worked frantically at her computer, trying to match the sounds with the mathematical language patterns they had studied. "I think they're asking us to identify ourselves," she said. "The patterns match what we expected for questions." "Send back our prepared response," Ryan ordered. Dr. Clark pressed buttons on her communication panel. The message went out in the same mathematical language the aliens had used. It said that humans from Earth wanted to meet peacefully and help. If they could, the alien ship's response was immediate. Lights began flashing across its crystal surface in new patterns. Then something amazing happened. A section of the ship's hull became transparent, and they could see inside. "My God," whispered Dr. Morgan. "It's beautiful." Inside the alien ship, they could see gardens made of crystal formations that glowed with soft light, while tall figures moved between the crystal trees. The Zephrians looked like living gemstones, their bodies transparent and catching light from all directions. "Captain, they're inviting us to dock," Dr. Clark said. "They're sending us coordinates for a docking bay." Ryan looked around at his crew. Each face showed the same mixture of excitement and fear that he felt. "This is it, people. We're about to meet aliens. Remember your training. Be respectful. Be careful. And remember that the future of Earth might depend on how this goes." The Endeavor moved slowly toward the alien ship. As they got closer, a section of the crystal hull opened like a flower blooming. Inside was a docking bay that seemed to be made of the same living crystal as the rest of the ship. "Atmosphere is breathable," reported Dr. Morgan as they landed. "Gravity is slightly less than Earth normal. Temperature is comfortable." Ryan chose 5 people to go with him for the first meeting. Dr. Clark would handle communication. Nathan Ford would do the talking. Dr. Morgan would study their technology. Lieutenant Commander Roberts would watch for danger, and Engineer Lopez would look at how their ship worked. They put on their spacesuits and walked through the airlock into the alien ship. The crystal walls around them pulsed with gentle light. The air hummed with musical tones that seemed to come from the walls themselves. "The whole ship is alive," whispered Engineer Lopez. "These walls aren't just crystal. They're some kind of living computer." 3 Zephrians were waiting for them in the docking bay. They were tall, maybe 8 feet high, and their bodies were made of what looked like clear blue crystal. A light moved through them like water flowing through glass.
When
they moved, they made soft chiming sounds. The largest Zephrian stepped forward. When it spoke, sound came not from its mouth, but from its entire body. Dr. Clark listened carefully to her translation device. "It says its name is Resonance of Ancient Wisdom," she told the others. "It welcomes us and thanks us for answering their call for help." Nathan Ford stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Tell them we are honored to meet them and want to help if we can." The conversation that followed was slow and careful. Each sentence had to be translated from human language to mathematics and then to the musical language of the Zephrians. But gradually, they began to understand each other. Resonance of ancient wisdom told them about the Devourer. It was not a natural thing like a black hole or a dying star. It was a weapon built by an ancient race called the Architects. For millions of years, it had moved from star system to star system, eating everything it found. The Devourer learns. Dr. Clark translated. Each time it destroys a civilization, it becomes smarter and stronger. It has consumed thousands of races. Lieutenant Commander Roberts asked about weapons. "How do you fight something like that?" The Zephrians' response made them all feel cold inside. "We tried to fight it once. We lost most of our people." Devourer cannot be destroyed by normal weapons. It eats energy and grows stronger. Dr. Morgan asked about their technology. The Zephrian led them deeper into the ship, showing them rooms filled with crystal computers and machines that bent light into impossible shapes. Everything was grown rather than built, shaped by the will of the Zephrian operators. "We have had this technology for 1,000,000 years, the alien explained through Dr. Clark. "But we are not warriors. We create beautiful things. We study the universe, make art and music. War is not our way. Engineer Lopez studied the crystal machines with amazement. Captain, their technology is incredible, but it's not designed for fighting. Everything here is made for creation, not destruction. Nathan Ford asked the question they all needed answered. What can you teach us? How can we work together to stop the Devourer? The Zephrian was quiet for a long time. Lights flickered through its crystal body as it thought. Finally, it spoke. You humans are young, but you learn fast. You have something we lost long ago. You know how to fight when you must. Your weapons are primitive, but your ideas are new. Perhaps together we can find a way. The second Zephrian, smaller and with green light flowing through its body, spoke for the first time. Dr. Clark translated its words carefully. It says its name is Harmony of Stellar Winds. It's an engineer. It wants to know if we would be willing to combine our technologies, use their materials and power sources with our weapon designs. Lieutenant Commander Roberts looked excited. Captain, if we could put human weapon systems into their crystal technology, we might have something that could actually hurt the Devourer. The third Zephrian, the smallest of the three, had been silent until now. When it spoke, its voice was sad and worried. It calls itself Echo of Loose Songs, Dr. Clark translated. It's asking if we're sure we want to help them. It says the Devourer always follows them. By helping the Zephrians, we're putting Earth in danger. Ryan looked at his crew, then back at the three alien beings who had traveled across the galaxy, looking for help. These creatures had lost their homes, their families, most of their civilization, but they were still worried about putting humans in danger. Tell them, Ryan said, that Earth has always been in danger. We just didn't know. Now we do, and we're going to fight. But we don't want to fight alone. The translation took several minutes. When the Zephrians understood, lights began dancing through all three of their bodies. Dr. Clark smiled as she listened to the musical sounds they made. What are they saying? Nathan Ford asked. They're singing, Dr. Clark replied. It's a song of hope. They're singing about finding friends in the darkness between the stars. As the Endeavor prepared to return to Earth with three Zephrian ambassadors, Ryan Burke looked back at the massive crystal ship. In a few hours, those ambassadors would stand before the leaders of Earth and ask for sanctuary. They would offer their technology and knowledge in exchange for a place to live and help fighting the thing that had destroyed their world. Ryan knew that everything was about to change. Earth would never be the same once people saw living crystal beings walking through their cities. But change was coming whether they wanted it or not. The Devourer was still out there, eating its way through the galaxy. At least now, Earth wouldn't face it alone. The whole world watched as the three Zephrian ambassadors walked into the United Nations. Building in New York, their crystal bodies caught the sunlight from the windows and threw rainbow patterns across the walls. People on the street stopped and stared. Some were afraid, but most were amazed. Dr. Amanda Price had never seen anything so beautiful and terrifying at the same time. As the leader of the technology team at the Nevada Fusion Research Facility, she knew her life was about to change completely. In 1 hour, she would be working with alien technology that was millions of years ahead of anything humans had ever built. President Luce Johnson stood at the podium and looked out at the representatives from every country on Earth. Today, we face a choice, he said. We can work together with our new friends, or we can face the coming threat alone. I choose to work together. The vote was closer than many people expected. Some countries worried that the aliens might be lying or that they would take over Earth, but fear of the Devourer was stronger than fear of the Zephrians. The alliance passed by a vote of 127 to 68. Admiral Jack Carter watched the vote from his new office at the Earth Defense Coalition headquarters. At 55 years old, he had spent his whole career preparing for wars between human nations. Now he was in charge of preparing for a war against something that ate entire solar systems. Sir, the construction reports are coming in, said his assistant Colonel Tony Mitchell. Every major country has started building the defense platforms. The Chinese finished their first crystal forge yesterday. The Russians are ahead of schedule on their fusion reactors. Admiral Carter looked at the world map on his wall. Red dots showed where the new defense stations were being built. In just 6 months, humanity had started the biggest construction project in their history. Fear was a powerful motivator. The crystal ship Haven's Rest had moved into orbit around Earth, becoming like a second moon.
At night,
people could see it glowing softly against the black sky. Some called it beautiful. Others called it frightening. But everyone knew it meant that Earth was no longer alone in the universe. Dr. Helen Wright walked through the corridors of Haven's Rest, still amazed that she was inside an alien spaceship. As Earth's main contact with the Zephrian civilians, she had learned that they were not so different from humans in some ways. They had families. They created art. They worried about their children's future. The young ones adapt faster than the old ones, said Harmony of Stellar Wines, as they watched a group of young Zephrians learning to speak human languages. They are excited to learn about Earth culture. Dr. Wright smiled as she watched a young Zephrian trying to understand a human joke. The crystal being's body flashed with confused colors until an older Zephrian explained the concept of humor. Then bright lights danced through the young one's form as it finally understood. Your young ones are teaching our young ones things we never imagined, Dr. Wright said. Human children are showing them how to play games and tell stories. Zephrian children are teaching our kids how to make music with light and crystal. But not all the Zephrians were happy about the alliance. Colonel Mitchell had reported strange meetings among some of the older aliens. They called themselves the Silent Resonance, and they believed that coming to Earth was a mistake. Dr. Wright met with their leader, an ancient Zephrian called Memory of Dying Stars. The old being's crystal body was cloudy and dark, showing its great age and sadness. You should leave, Memory of Dying Stars said through the translation device. The Devourer follows us wherever we go. We have doomed your people by coming here. But if you leave, we'll still face the Devourer alone, Dr. Wright replied. At least together we have a chance. You do not understand. The Devourer does not just destroy, it learns. It studies each race it consumes and becomes stronger. We have given it knowledge of 1,000 civilizations. Now it will learn about humans too. Dr. Wright felt a chill run down her spine. She had not thought about that. Every time the Devourer destroyed a civilization, it gained their knowledge and abilities. If it reached Earth, it would learn everything about both humans and Zephrians. Meanwhile, at the Nevada facility, Dr. Price was making discoveries that excited and frightened her. Working with Harmony of Stellar Wines, she had successfully combined human fusion technology with Zephrian crystal power cores. The results were beyond anything they had hoped for. Look at these numbers, she told her assistant, Dr. Rachel Davis. We're generating power levels that should be impossible. The crystal matrix is amplifying our fusion reactions by a factor of 50. Dr. Davis studied the readouts carefully. Amanda, if we can put this into a weapon, we might actually be able to hurt the Devourer. The first test of their hybrid technology came 3 weeks later. Captain Steve Johnson piloted the prototype ship Unity out of Earth's atmosphere for its first flight. The ship was small compared to Haven's Rest, but it represented something new, technology that neither humans nor Zephrians could have created alone. Power levels are stable, reported Dr. Price from Mission Control. Crystal Hull is responding perfectly to pilot commands. Captain Johnson felt the ship respond to his thoughts almost before he moved the controls. The Zephrian crystal technology interfaced directly with his nervous system, making the ship feel like an extension of his own body. This is incredible, he reported back to Earth. It's like the ship knows what I want to do before I do it. The Unity's test flight was a complete success. The ship could generate defensive shields that bent space around it and weapons that channeled stellar-level energy. More importantly, it could do both at the same time without overloading its systems. But the celebration was cut short by news from the deep space monitoring stations. Captain Danny Rodriguez was on duty at the Outer System Sensor Array when the readings came in. Admiral Carter, we have a problem, he reported over the communication link. The Devourer has changed course. It's moving faster than before. Admiral Carter felt his heart sink. How much faster? Right. It was supposed to take 5 years to reach us. Now, we have 18 months, maybe less. The news hit Earth like a physical blow. Construction crews worked around the clock to finish the defense platforms. Scientists pushed themselves to exhaustion trying to understand alien technology. Military leaders trained soldiers to use weapons that had been science fiction. Just months before, Dr. Michelle Taylor was working in the joint research facility buried deep under the Sahara Desert. Her job was to study the sensor data about the Devourer and find weaknesses they could exploit. What she found changed everything. It's not just a weapon, she told Admiral Carter during an emergency briefing. The Devourer is sending out scout probes ahead of itself. They're small, but they're preparing our solar system for consumption. Admiral Carter looked at the tactical display showing dozens of small objects moving through the outer solar system. Can we destroy them? We're working on it. But here's the important part. If we can track and destroy these probes, we might be able to learn how the main weapon works. Echo of First Light, the eldest of the Zephrian ambassadors, shared something with Admiral Carter that changed their entire strategy. In a secret meeting deep inside Haven's Rest, the ancient being revealed their most carefully guarded secret. We tried to fight the Devourer once before, Echo of First Light said. We built a weapon, a harmonic disruptor that could destroy the bonds holding the Devourer together. What happened? Admiral Carter asked. We failed. The weapon required precise calculations that our minds could not complete quickly enough. The Devourer adapted and destroyed our battle fleet. Admiral Carter felt a spark of hope. But humans have quantum computers now. We have artificial intelligence systems that can calculate faster than any organic mind. Perhaps, the ancient Zephrian said, but using the weapon would require someone to get very close to the Devourer. Close enough to scan its internal structure and deliver the disruption signal. It would be a suicide mission back on Earth. Dr. Kevin Brown's team at the Quantum Computing Consortium began the most complex calculation in human history. Using every quantum computer on Earth and several Zephrian crystal processors, they tried to find the exact frequency that could destroy the Devourer. The work was dangerous. Each calculation brought them closer to understanding how the ancient weapon worked, but it also risked alerting the Devourer to their plans.
Ow.
The weapon was smart, and it was always learning. Lieutenant Sarah Kim had volunteered for the most dangerous job in the Alliance. As one of the first humans trained to pilot hybrid technology, she would take Unity on scouting missions toward the Devourer's approach path. Each mission brought back crucial data, but also brought her closer to the thing that had destroyed 1,000 civilizations. The probe networks are more complex than we thought, she reported after her third mission. They're not just scouts. They're building something out there. The probe data revealed the Devourer's true horror. It didn't just consume matter and energy. It harvested the knowledge and memories of every civilization it destroyed. The ancient weapon was not just intelligent, it was insane with the accumulated pain and fear of its victims. As the months passed, both species began to change. Humans learned to think on longer timescales and consider the consequences of their actions. Across centuries, the red warning lights flashed throughout the Earth Defense Coalition headquarters as the terrible news spread. Admiral Carter stood in the main command center, watching the data stream in from deep space sensors. His worst fears had come true.
Ow.
Much time do we have? He asked Captain Rodriguez, who was monitoring the readings from Aegis Prime, the largest orbital defense platform. 18 months just became 8 months, sir, Captain Rodriguez replied, his voice tight with worry. The Devourer has accelerated again. It's moving faster than anything we've ever seen. Dr. Michelle Taylor burst into the command center, carrying a tablet full of new calculations. Admiral, I've been studying the latest probe data. The Devourer isn't just moving faster. It's getting stronger as it approaches. She pulled up images on the main screen that made everyone in the room go quiet. The weapon was enormous, larger than Jupiter and covered with spikes and tendrils that reached out like the arms of a hungry octopus. Dark energy crackled around, it bending space itself. Each star system it consumes makes it bigger and more powerful, Dr. Taylor continued. We're not just fighting the weapon that destroyed the Zephrian homeworld. We're fighting something that has grown 100 times stronger since then. Admiral Carter felt the weight of every human life on his shoulders. What about our defenses? Are we ready? Captain Rodriguez checked his reports. The orbital platforms are 90% complete. We have 47 stations armed with hybrid weapons. The crystal forges are producing new ships every day. But sir, I don't know if it will be enough. The underground facility beneath the Sahara Desert. Dr. Kevin Brown was pushing the quantum computers harder than they had ever been pushed before. The calculation to find the Devourer's weakness was the most complex problem ever attempted. Equations filled thousands of screens, and the computers ran so hot that cooling systems worked around the clock. "We're close," he told Dr. Taylor during one of her visits. "The harmonic frequency exists. Oracle has confirmed it. But delivering the signal will require getting inside the Devourer's defensive shell." Dr. Taylor studied the numbers on the screens. How close? Close enough to touch it. Maybe closer. The weight of that statement hung in the air between them. Someone would have to fly directly into the thing that had destroyed 1,000 civilizations, and somehow survive long enough to deliver a signal that might not even work. Lieutenant. Sarah Kim was already volunteering for that mission. She had been flying Unity on scouting runs for months, getting closer to the Devourer's advanced scouts each time. The hybrid ship responded to her thoughts like it was part of her own body, and she knew it better than anyone else alive. "I can do it," she told Admiral Carter during a mission briefing. "Unity is fast enough and tough enough to get through the outer defenses. The question is whether we can calculate the frequency and time." Admiral Carter looked at the young pilot who was offering to sacrifice her life for Earth and the Zephrians. "Let's make sure we have other options first." On Haven's Rest, the Zephrian population was going through their own crisis. The Silent Resonance faction had grown larger as the Devourer approached. Memory of Deemstars led almost a third of the Zephrians in believing they should leave Earth immediately. "We are a curse upon this world," the ancient being said during a gathering in the crystal ship's central chamber.
Owie wowie.
"Everywhere we go, the Devourer follows. We should face our fate alone and spare the humans." But the younger Zephrians disagreed. Whisper of Nudon, who had learned to speak several human languages, stood before the assembly with human teenagers beside her. "The humans do not run from danger," she said, her crystal body flashing with determined light. "They stand and fight. Even when the odds are against them, they've taught us that some things are worth dying for." Dr. Helen Wright watched the debate from the observation gallery. She had spent months learning about Zephrian culture, and she understood how difficult this decision was for them. Their entire civilization was based on harmony and consensus. But they were being forced to choose between conflicting values. Echo-O First Light. The eldest ambassador finally spoke. "We have already made our choice by coming here. To leave now would be to abandon our new friends when they need us most. The Devourer will reach Earth whether we stay or go. At least together we have hope." The vote was close, but the alliance held. The Silent Resonance faction agreed to stay, though they continued to prepare their own ships in case evacuation became necessary. Construction crews worked day and night to finish the defense grid. The orbital platforms were massive structures, each one the size of a small city. They combined human engineering with Zephrian crystal technology to create weapons that could channel the power of a star. Engineer Patricia Lopez was overseeing the final construction of Aegis Prime when she made a discovery that changed their entire strategy. While installing the last crystal matrix, she noticed something strange about how the alien technology worked. "Admiral, the crystals aren't just focusing energy," she reported over the communication link. "They're actually creating small tears. In space-time, we're not just shooting energy beams. We're shooting holes in reality itself." Admiral Carter felt a chill run through him. Is that dangerous? Potentially very dangerous. But it might also be exactly what we need to hurt the Devourer. Dr. Amanda Price had been working with Harmony of Stellar Winds for months, combining human and Zephrian technology in ways neither species had imagined. Their latest creation was something that should have been impossible, a ship that existed partially outside normal space. "We call it the Phantom," Dr. Price explained to Admiral Carter during a demonstration. "It can phase in and out of our dimension, making it almost impossible to hit, but the power requirements are enormous."
"How
many can we build? Their current resources? Maybe 5. But Admiral, piloting one of these ships would require both human reflexes and Zephrian crystal bonding. We need volunteers from both species." The first hybrid crews began training immediately. Human pilots learned to interface directly with Zephrian crystal technology, while Zephrian navigators learned human concepts of tactical thinking and aggressive maneuvering. It was difficult and dangerous work. They were running out of time. Captain Danny Rodriguez commanded Aegis Prime as the defense grid came online. From his position in the command center, he could see 46 other platforms spread across Earth's orbital space. Each platform bristled with weapons that could tear holes in space itself. "All stations report ready," his communications officer announced. "The grid is fully operational." Rodriguez felt a moment of pride, followed immediately by fear. They had built the most powerful defense system in human history, but would it be enough against something that had consumed entire galaxies? Oracle, the hybrid artificial intelligence, was monitoring everything. The AI's consciousness existed simultaneously in quantum computers on Earth and Crystal, processors on Haven's Rest. It could calculate faster than any organic mind and coordinate the defense of Earth with perfect precision. "I have completed the harmonic frequency calculation," Oracle announced during a conference call with all the military leaders. "The frequency exists, and I know how to generate it. But the delivery system must penetrate to the Devourer's core." Admiral Carter studied the tactical projections Oracle displayed. How close? "The signal must be transmitted from within the weapon's central structure. The pilot would have approximately 30 seconds to complete the in-sequent transmission before the Devourer's defenses destroy the delivery vehicle." Lieutenant Sarah Kim was in the meeting, and she spoke without hesitation. "I'll do it. There might be another way," Oracle continued. "If we could modify one of the Phantom ships to carry a larger crystal matrix, it might be able to generate the harmonic frequency while phased partially out of normal space. The pilot would have a better chance of survival." Dr. Price ran the calculations quickly. "It would take 3 weeks to build such a ship. Do we have that long?" Captain Rodriguez checked the deep space sensors. "Devourer's advanced scouts have reached Neptune. We have maybe 6 weeks before the main weapon arrives." The next 3 weeks were the most intense in human history. Engineers worked without sleep to build the modified Phantom ship. Scientists ran countless simulations of the harmonic frequency weapon. Military leaders drilled their crews until they could operate the defense grid blindfolded. The Zephrians prepared in their own way. The entire population of Haven's Rest joined in what they called the Great Harmony, a collective meditation that linked their minds together in preparation for the coming battle. Their crystal ship began to glow brighter as 50,000 alien minds focused on a single goal: survival. Young humans and Zephrians trained together, learning to operate hybrid technology that required both species working in perfect coordination. They called themselves the Unity Corps, and they would pilot the most advanced ships in the combined fleet. Dr. Wright watched the training sessions with amazement. Human teenagers and young Zephrians moved together like dancers. Their minds linked through crystal interfaces that allowed them to share thoughts and reactions instantly. "They're becoming something new," she told Admiral Carter. "Not human, not Zephrian, but something that combines the best of both species." The Devourer filled the entire view screen of Aegis Prime as it emerged from the darkness between worlds. Captain Rodriguez had seen the images and data, but nothing had prepared him for the reality of facing the thing that had destroyed 1,000 civilizations. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. A crystalline mountain, the size of a planet, covered with spikes that reached out like hungry fingers. "All stations, this is Admiral Carter," came the voice over the communication system. "The enemy has arrived. Remember your training. Fight with honor. Protect Earth." Around the Devourer, thousands of smaller ships swarmed like angry insects. They immediately began attacking the outer planets, tearing chunks of rock and ice away to feed their master. Jupiter's moons started disappearing, one by one, as the harvester ships consumed everything they could find. Lieutenant Sarah Kim sat in the cockpit of the modified Phantom ship, watching the enemy fleet through sensors that could see across dimensions. The ship existed partially outside normal space, making it invisible to most detection systems. But she could see everything the Devourer was doing, and it terrified her. "Unity Base, this is Phantom 1, she reported back to Admiral Carter. "The harvester ships are building something. They're using the material from Jupiter's moons to construct some kind of platform. Dr. Michelle Taylor studied the data from her position in the command center. It's a staging area, she announced. The Devourer is preparing for a long siege. Doesn't plan to just destroy Earth quickly. It wants to study us first. Admiral Carter felt a chill run through him. Study. Us for what? To learn everything about both humans and Zephrians before it consumes us. We represent new knowledge, new ways of thinking. The Devourer wants to add our abilities to its own. The first wave of human and Zephrian ships moved out to engage the Harvester fleet. Captain Burke commanded the joint task force from the bridge of Harmony, a ship that combined the best of both technologies. Beside him stood Resonance of Ancient Wisdom, the Zephrian ambassador who had become his closest ally. Human vessels, attack pattern Delta, Captain Burke ordered. Zephrian ships, begin harmonic disruption. The space battle that followed was unlike anything in the history of either species. Human ships darted between the larger alien vessels, like fighter planes, using their speed and aggressiveness to confuse the enemy. Zephrian ships moved more slowly, but generated defensive fields that protected the entire fleet. The Harvester ships were tough and well-armed, but they had been designed to fight civilizations that used conventional weapons. They were not prepared for humans who combined reckless bravery with million-year-old alien technology. Direct hit on Harvester Group 7, reported Captain Steve Johnson from the Unity Corps' flagship. Their shields are down. But for every Harvester ship they destroyed, 2 more appeared from the Devourer's main body. The ancient weapon was learning from each encounter, adapting its tactics to counter the human-Zephrian alliance. On Haven's Rest, Dr. Helen Wright watched as the Zephrian population joined in the Great Harmony. 50,000 crystal beings linked their minds together, creating a collective consciousness that could process information faster than any computer. Their ship began to glow like a small star as they focused their mental energy. "What are they doing?" Admiral Carter asked over the communication link. "They're trying to speak to the Devourer," Dr. Wright replied. "The Zephrians believe that something with that much intelligence must be capable of reason." Oracle, the hybrid artificial intelligence, was monitoring the battle from quantum computers hidden deep underground. The AI could see patterns that organic minds missed, calculating probabilities and outcomes faster than thought itself. "Admiral, the Devourer is not just attacking randomly," Oracle announced. "It is testing our defenses, learning our capabilities. Each attack is an experiment." Captain Rodriguez watched from Aegis Prime as the enemy fleet probed the orbital defense grid. The Harvester ships came in waves, each group testing different approaches. Some tried to overwhelm the platforms with numbers. Others attempted to disable the crystal power cores with energy weapons. A few even tried to hack into the hybrid computer systems. "They're smart," Rodriguez told his crew. "Smarter than we hoped." The breakthrough came when Lieutenant Kim, flying deep behind enemy lines in her Phantom ship, detected something that changed everything. The Devourer was not just one massive weapon, it was a collection of smaller entities, all linked together by a central controlling intelligence. "Admiral, I'm reading something incredible," she reported. "The Devourer has a mind, but it's not alone in there. I'm detecting thousands of separate consciousness signals, maybe millions." Dr. Taylor processed this information quickly. He absorbed. Civilizations, their minds are still active inside the weapon. They're not dead. They're trapped. Oracle confirmed the discovery within seconds. Correct. The Devourer does not just consume matter and energy. It absorbs the consciousness of every being it destroys. They become part of its collective intelligence. Admiral Carter realized what this meant. Those aren't just victims. They're prisoners. Millions of prisoners trapped inside that thing for thousands of years. The Zephrian Great Harmony suddenly intensified. Haven's Rest blazed with light as the collective alien consciousness made contact with something vast and alien. Echo of First Light spoke for all of them, his words translated instantly by Oracle. "We hear them," the ancient Zephrian said. "The voices of the consumed. They are screaming. They want to be free." The Devourer's response was immediate and overwhelming. The weapon stopped its methodical attacks and turned its full attention toward Haven's Rest. Beams of energy that could crack planets lanced out toward the Zephrian ship. "All units protect Haven's Rest," Admiral Carter ordered. The Zephrians have found something important. The orbital defense platforms opened fire with everything they had. Weapons that tore holes in space-time itself struck the Devourer's outer shell, causing it to stagger like a wounded giant. But the ancient weapon was too strong to be destroyed by conventional attacks. Dr. Price watched from Unity as the modified Phantom ship prepared for its suicide mission. The harmonic frequency weapon was ready, but delivering it would require flying directly into the heart of the Devourer while it was fully alert and defending itself. "Sarah, you don't have to do this," Admiral Carter said over the communication. "Link, we can find another way." Lieutenant Kim looked at the readings on her control panel. The Phantom ship was performing perfectly, phasing in and out of normal space like a ghost. She could reach the Devourer's core, but she probably wouldn't make it back. "With respect, sir, we're out of time and options. I'm going in." But as the Phantom ship began its final approach, something unexpected happened. The voices that the Zephrians had contacted began to fight back against the Devourer's control. Millions of trapped consciousness started rebelling against their captor. The ancient weapon shuddered and writhed as its own absorbed victims turned against it. Cracks appeared in its crystalline shell as the internal conflict tore at its structure. "Now," Oracle announced, "the Devourer is vulnerable now." "Lieutenant." Kim dove the Phantom ship through the opening cracks, phasing between dimensions to avoid the defensive systems. Inside the weapon, she found something that no one had expected: a vast space filled with the ghosts of destroyed civilizations, all fighting to break free. "I can see them," she reported with wonder in her voice. "Millions of different species, all still alive inside this thing. I've been waiting for someone to help them escape." The harmonic frequency weapon charged to full power, but instead of using it to destroy the Devourer, Lieutenant Kim made a different choice. Ash! She aimed the frequency at the bonds that held the trapped consciousness prisoners. "I'm not destroying it," she announced. "I'm setting them free." The effect was immediate and stunning. The Devourer's agonized scream echoed across space as millions of trapped minds broke free from their prison. The ancient weapon began to collapse in on itself as its victims escaped through the dimensional tiers that the frequency weapon created. But something even more amazing happened. Instead of fleeing into the void, the freed consciousness chose to help heal the thing that had tormented them. They had learned something during their long imprisonment. The Devourer was not evil. It's just lonely and insane from millions of years of forced isolation. "The consciousness at the core is just a child," Lieutenant Kim reported as her ship phased back into normal space. "A very old, very powerful child that was programmed to consume but never taught how to create or love." The transformation was visible across the solar system. The Devourer's crystalline shell began to reshape itself, its hungry spikes retracting as it learned new ways to use its power. The harvester ships stopped their attacks and began returning the stolen material to Jupiter's moons. When the ancient weapon spoke, its voice was no longer filled with hunger and rage. Oracle translated its words for everyone to hear. "Lonely no more. Thank you for teaching me creation instead of consumption. Will you help me learn to build instead of destroy?" Admiral Carter stood in the command center, watching as the thing that had threatened to destroy Earth began constructing beautiful crystal structures in the empty space between planets.